From this season's alternate to runner-up of season 45 of Survivor, Austin Li Coon joins me now. Austin, so excited to get to speak with you again. I spoke with you preseason. How are you feeling now that the finale has aired?
I'm feeling great. The season was so much fun to watch, and this finale, excellent way to cap it. And, as fans of the show, as players, as people who haven't won, at the end of the day, you just want it to be a good product. You want it to be an entertaining season. You want the fans to enjoy watching it. And the response has been incredible. Like, people have really been enjoying it. Watching it back has been so much fun. So, as fans, I'm just so happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, it was an incredible season overall. Austin, I'm dying to know, did you ever get your sandwich?
Oh my gosh. I have had so many sandwiches the past couple of months. Like so many sandwiches and so many people taking pictures of me eating sandwiches too. So it's been fun. I love sandwiches. So I
Yeah,
have nothing to complain about. I'll probably have one for lunch today.
you had to make up for it. I love that. Now, Austin, in our preseason interview, you kind of spoke about your experience of finding out being an alternate and getting on the main cast just like the day before, whatever it was. Now that the season has aired, we know that you're runner up. How do you feel about going from alternate, who maybe was not even going to be on the cast, to runner up of the season?
I mean, it's been such a journey, and I think being the alternate has given me a different perspective of the game. I have no bitterness. I have no regrets really. Every single day out there was like the truly the best day of my life. And going out there was sort of like I want to do anything and everything. And to be able to say that I did do all of that, I always wanted to go try catching fish. I wanted to find an advantage. I wanted to win immunity. And just being able to go out there and do that when like I should never have even played. Like I was in pregame, like at Ponderosa, when they told me beforehand, I was studying for my midterms because I wasn't dropping out of school. I was just going to be gone for a little bit,
Yeah.
do the whole alternate thing, fly back home to Chicago, take my midterms, and just move on with my life. But like when I was told, everything changed, and it just made me so appreciative of every single moment out there for sure.
Yeah, you thought you were taking midterms, but instead you became a Survivor legend. So that's quite a transition.
Legend. Whoa. Okay.
Yes,
I'll
that's how
take
I
that.
would define you anyway. Yeah. So,
Wow.
Austin, aside from maybe D, I would say you and Drew were very tight the entire season, and that showed all the way to the end. Why did you choose to protect that relationship so intensely?
Yeah. You know what? Dee and Drew were, as I say, both my number ones, and I was going to protect both of them to the end. I was never going to write either of their names down. I was going to protect any of them with whatever powers and tools that I had. If Dee came up to me and was like, "Hey, let's vote out Emily," I would have gone straight to Drew and I would have told him too. So, for both of them, it was sort of like we created this bond really, really early. Julie as well, like the Reba group, we got really tight really fast. And I think one thing that really helped for that was the fact that we didn't go to tribal. We were a winning tribe. We felt so confident. We are like, we're strong, like physically, we're strong at puzzles. Like we've got all the tools to keep going. Because of that, I think the way we kind of approached the opening days, we had the luxury of not having to dive straight into cutting, like drawing the line in the sand. Instead, we could really form these genuine connections and see who are we vibing with most, who's someone that we can actually trust to move forward in the game before we're like, all right, do you want to be allies? We can first start like we're actually really good friends out here. We have a lot in common. We have a lot like hanging out together is really awesome. We should work together. So we had kind of that luxury because of we were so successful in the beginning.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, speaking of the beginning, okay, so the beginning of the game, the first half, if you will, I feel like you played impeccably. You had all these advantages that you're using very seamlessly. And in the second half, it kind of seems like the viewers maybe feel like you took a step back a little bit. So,
Yeah.
how would you compare the first half of your game to the second half?
Yeah. I do think my game kind of peaked in the middle. So I played, yeah, really well. I had some really good moves in the beginning, being able to win over Emily, get out Brando. The Kelly blindside was a huge part of my game as well. And then after that, like I felt like once Bruce was out of the game, I felt like every single scenario I could run through, I was like pretty sure I was going to end up in the final three. I had final threes with everybody else. And my main thought was like, I just need to get to the end because I've already done such big, crucial moves to the game. I've set myself up, I've set my alliance up to make it to the end. I just have to get there. And I think having these idols, and I wouldn't say it hurt my game, but I was very conscious about threat management. I knew like I really, really, really needed to focus on not making a big splash because players like me, they're targeted right at the merge. And I knew if I did
Yeah.
anything I did would be super heightened and eyes would be stuck onto me because they knew at any point in the game I was a threat to win a challenge. My core four knew about two idols. Emily knew about the amulet. And I knew that everything I did had to be really, really subtle. And I just had to get to the end because I felt like I already was building up a big enough resume. And, I think that strategy for the most part would have worked. I think what really, shot me in the foot, obviously, is the turning point of the season when I told Dee about the decision to vote out Julie. She tells
Yeah.
Julie, like I said, like I would have done the same thing for Drew. I don't regret that at all. It just kind of bit me in the butt. And I think the fans are a little more harsh on that because Dee and I had a romantic relationship out there. If I told Drew, I don't think people would be nearly as upset. So
Yeah.
I stand by what I did.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point. You have to just stand by your decisions.
Yeah.
That's so crucial. Okay. We saw that you were kind of trying to get in Dee's ear to let you compete in the fire making
Yeah.
challenge. Do you wish, looking back now, knowing how everything ended, that you would have been able to compete in the fire making as opposed to being taken to the final three? And do you think it would have made a difference in maybe the ending votes?
Yeah, no, I always wanted to go to the fire making challenge. I felt really confident with making fires. Like I could make a fire in, 10 seconds. I can get it going and lit up and going. I studied how Bruce made fires. He was like the best fire maker. And I just watched how he did it and learned from him and was able to kind of implement that when I started making fires. And that's ultimately like when I went to Jake and taught him how to do it. I was telling him the Bruce method. And it's unclear if me going to fire against like a tour or Jake and winning that would have given me the final push I needed to win the game. It would have actually like for sure been a notch to my resume. But I think kind of my almost ideal scenario was and one of the big reasons why I switched my vote at Final Five from Couture to Julie was if I get out Julie now, there's a chance that I'll go in fire against D. I
Mm.
felt that if Couture won the final challenge, she would put me in D in the fire together. And if I won the final four challenge, it's unclear if I would have been able to go against D. I've thought about it a lot when I was on the island. You know, I don't know if I would have actually had the heart to do that. I wanted to. I knew that's what needed to be done. I didn't get that opportunity, but had I gone to fire against her, I feel pretty good. I would have won the fire, and that probably would have been what I needed to win the game.
Yeah, all of that makes sense. Okay, Austin, as a super fan and longtime viewer of the show, okay, I would argue that that final tribal council was definitely the most exciting we've seen, at least in the new era. Walk me through what it was like going toe to toe, head to head with D at that final tribal council.
Oh, it was so much fun. And you saw like throughout the season, we had this little rivalry going in challenges. We were always like, I'm going to beat you next. I'm going to beat you next. With the same thing, we had that same banter going into Final Tribal, the day leading up to it. We're like, I'm going to, gloves are coming off. I'm going hard. I'm going to win. He did the same thing to me. So it was a lot of fun. And you can kind of see like when the other person's making good arguments, like if I'm saying something good, she's smiling at me. When she's saying something good, I'm smiling at her because it was all good fun and like we wanted to give a good show to the jury. We owed it to really go after each other and not to just be like, oh, we're just like in the showmans. We're just like, going to be civil with each other and stuff like we wanted to go at it. And I'm glad that we both were able to do so.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch. Seriously, as a super fan, one of my favorites. Now something that you said that I
Uh,
thought was really interesting. I don't know if it was in like the final tribal or the after show per se, but you mentioned this piece of the difference of knowing when to use an idol versus knowing that you don't need to use it are like equally important, or however you phrase that. Explain that to me a little bit more.
Yeah, so I guess there's a couple layers to it. I mean, there's multiple tribal councils where I was exposed and I could have gotten voted out, and I didn't play the idol. Like the big one that comes to mind is when Julie plays her idol and sends home Emily. I knew she brought up my name and she floated my name, and there was a chance she's going to write my name down, but I felt strongly that there was a much higher chance that she would write either Emily or Jake, and I wanted to keep it for one more round. So not playing the idol there, I felt was a strong move. Obviously, when I ended up playing it and I didn't need to at the final six, I would have done the same thing at the final seven if I played at that point too.
Sure.
And yeah, I think the other part of it is like it's obviously really cool to make a big flashy move with an idol, but that really only comes into play and is only something that's important like when you're on the bottom. I was able to
Mm.
build up an alliance and have the numbers throughout the entire game because of the work that I put in, the allies that I brought in, and the moves that I made that playing an idol I didn't need to. I always was going to be in the numbers. No one was going to vote me out. I could try playing it, but then I would backstab a lot of my alliance members, and then I would also paint a bigger target because I was lying to everyone else. The only people who knew that I had two idols was Ariba 4. So like,
Mm.
and Emily was a really, really close ally. If she sees me playing another idol, I break that trust. Similarly, if I play the amulet, which the Reba 4 plus Emily knew about, then everyone else on the beach would be like, wow, this guy hid this from me. Like this guy's actually playing. So I wanted to hold out as long as possible, not play it, make sure no one knew that I had these things and that I wasn't playing until the last possible moment.
Okay, that's some really good insight. And I think, I don't know, it's just really interesting here because being well positioned obviously kind of speaks for itself, and sometimes it's better than having an idol, which is really cool. All
Exactly.
right, so in the end, you were not a zero vote finalist, which is important. You did get 3 votes. I don't think the fans are that shocked that you received Drew's vote. Obviously, you guys are well aligned, but you did receive both Kendra and Bruce's vote as well. Did either of those surprise you for any reason?
Um, I guess so Kendra came in and made it very clear that she was keeping her vote open, that she didn't know who she was going to vote for. And, from what I heard after the game, she was leaning towards voting for D. She came in if the votes were being written down before tribal, she was going to vote for D. So the fact that I was able to win her over and switch her vote to vote for me, it meant a lot to me. And it meant a lot like knowing that the jury was really actually being open and they weren't kind of, just vote all one way or come in and stick to whatever they had going in. So I really respect that from Kendra, and I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, okay. I have to say I loved Kendra this season, and seeing her in Final Tribal Council was also exciting. Now, Austin, what's a moment maybe that the viewers didn't get to see this season when it all aired that maybe you enjoyed or just really took a liking to?
Yeah, I think a lot of the Kelly blindside was not really shown because
Mm.
the edit was shown to blindside the audience, but there was so much work that was put behind the scene to make that vote happen. Like little things too. Like for example, that was the same episode as Survivor Auction, and if you remember, like the person with the most money at the end loses their vote.
Hmm.
Bruce lost his vote. He actually bid $80 on that fisheye, which is why I bid 100 because I wanted people outside of my alliance to have a higher chance of losing their vote. So then I made a big
Mm.
scene biting into the eyeball just to make it seem like, hey, I bid on this because I want, to eat the eyeball, not because I wanted to outbid Bruce and do the strategic move. And as soon as that happened and Bruce lost his vote, it was like, okay, we're going to turn this blind side now on Kelly. And they weren't able to show all the sort of conversations that had to be done. Like convincing D to vote for Kelly was really difficult. It took a lot of conversations, and pretty much I had to like sit her down and be like, listen, last vote, we sent home Caleb. Caleb was a great shield for me, but I was willing to take him down because he was threatening your game. Like, can you please do this for me with Kelly, even though you think keeping her will help your game? Like, I need to get rid of her like as soon as possible because she's going to turn on me with this whole amulet thing. And just being able to convince that and all the work that went to that blind side would have been great for people to see. It's understandable why they didn't because it was an epic blind side. So yeah,
Yeah, it's cool hearing those extra details though, because I think the Kelly blindside was probably one of the most exciting moments of the season. So
yeah,
hearing that there was way more work that went into it is really nice. Austin, my final question. You
yep.
played so well this season. You had such an incredible journey. If you were ever asked, would you return and play Survivor again?
100%. Oh yeah, 100%. When you're out there for the first time and you're starving and you're miserable, like in the moment, you're like, I don't know if I'll ever do this again. I need a few years break or whatever. But as soon as you have a first bite of that sandwich, you take a shower, you're like, okay, I'm ready. Like put me back out there. Like, you know, unless you win, and even winners, I guess you have so many things like I have stuff to prove still. And yeah, of course, I would love to.
Yeah. Austin, you were so incredible this season. If fans want to keep up with you, how can they keep up with you online?
Yeah, you can follow me. I think I am on all the socials now. So like Instagram, just Austin Li Coon. Twitter, I think it's that. Maybe it's Austin LICO. I forget. On TikTok, I'm gonna start posting some videos too. So anywhere, yeah.
Exciting stuff. Just type it in, you'll find them in there. All right, Austin, thank you so much. You were so fun to watch this entire season. You played an incredible game, and congrats on being runner up and for what it's worth for rooting for you and G.